What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be going over the sales and marketing pipeline masterclass for wholesalers. So we're currently dealing with some technical difficulties right now, making sure that the whole entire team is sending out the correct YouTube live link because I messed it up. But you guys are going to be in for a really, really great training. So for those who don't know about me, I am typically the marketing and the sales guy. It is my job to figure out how do we get traffic in on the front end, how do we get leads, and then how do we convert that on the back end through great sales. Then obviously the third part of that is how do you dispo the property. And a lot of people make the mistake of treating this like a side hustle when you really need to be treating this like a marketing and a sales business. So that is the whole point of this training, is to show you guys what other gurus don't tell you, to show you how to run this, not like a side hustle, but more like a great software sales company, because there are multiple types of sales that you will come across. You have transactional sales, which is very, very common within the info and the coaching space, where it's one call, you got to have a one call close. You then have relationship based sales, which is a lot like, wholesaling, or whether you're an agent. And then obviously you have enterprise sales. So the problem that most people face is that they treat this relationship sales, which is a long-term sales cycle, 30, 60, 90, 120 days. They treat it like transactional, where, hey, you get a lead coming in and you call them up and a contract should be signed within the first call. And if they don't want to sell right away, if they say that, blah, 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 that, the lead's terrible. So the whole entire point of this training is to show you how you need to be dialing in your sales pipeline process, what KPIs you need to be tracking so that we can make data informed decisions and ultimately be able to scale, get the most amount of return on the marketing dollars that we put in. Because marketing and sales is like water into a cup. If you don't pour enough water into the cup, it's never going to be full. So if you don't fill the top of your funnel with leads, you're never going to be able to close deals. That is, if you have a marketing problem, not a sales problem. And then it's also vice versa. You might have a cup full of water and you are absolutely over pouring it, flooding that cup with leads. But if your cup isn't big enough, if there's holes in it, you keep pouring water in, but water is leaking out. So you keep filling your pipeline with leads and you're losing deals because of leakage. So that is the whole point of this training today. And I'm going to give it around 1 or 2 more minutes before I go into absolutely everything. I'm just going to confirm with the team that the new link is being sent. Okay, perfect. Let's start now, guys. So what we have here is what I like to call the unlimited deal funnel. So you guys have probably heard this time and time again. Oh, this is not a real estate business. It is a marketing and a sales business. And that could not be 100% more true. So when we break down absolutely everything, and you want to know, how do we get deals across the finish line? How do we close deals where we make a lot of money on the assignment fees? It comes down to this funnel right here. So you have marketing. You obviously need leads coming in. You have sales, you need to convert the leads, and then you have disposition. You need to sell the home. And it all works together. See, too many people get into analysis paralysis where it's like, oh, how do I pitch a creative finance deal? What happens if XYZ happens in title? And they focus on the wrong things right there. So when you spend your time and attention on things that don't move the needle forward, AKA getting leads in, making offers, signing contracts, and closing deals, they wonder, why am I not able to get success? Why am I not able to do deals? So when we look at it from a macro point of view, it is marketing, sales, and fulfillment. And these are the different types of marketing that you can do. You obviously have traditional marketing, which is typically what you see with the seasoned wholesalers. So what's super funny about the wholesaling space is you kind of have 2 generations. You have people who've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, essentially pre-2020. And then you kind of have the new TikTok era. So a lot of the guys who are doing 15, 20, 25 deals a month, who've been doing this for like 25 years, they do a lot of the traditional marketing. Billboards, TV ads, radio. You obviously have paid traffic, PPC, PPL. You have your JVs, you have your cold outreach like cold calls, direct mail, SMS, ringless voicemail, and then you have SEO. So, what is the point of all of that? All of that is that we get leads into our funnel, people who want to sell. Okay, we have people who want to sell. What happens after that? We need to go call them up and we need to go close them. We need to go get it under contract. That's what happens right here in the call leads. And obviously, everything that comes through ends up going into deals closed. So in today, we are going to be covering the following topics because this is going to be a sales and marketing, training. Everything sales and marketing is yin and yang. You could have the best marketing in the world. You can get unlimited motivated seller leads who are ready to sign tomorrow. But if you can't get it under contract because you can't close, it doesn't matter. Versus you could be the best closer in the world. And if you don't have any leads coming into the top of the funnel, it doesn't matter. So first, we're going to be going over what is a pipeline right here, because you hear it all the time, but people don't actually know what it is. Next, we're going to go over pipeline management. Okay, once we have leads into our pipeline, how do we manage the process so that we have no leaky buckets and no water is leaking? Next, we have lead and lag indicators. So when you are really good at tracking your marketing, when you're really good at tracking your sales pipeline, you're actually given a lot of data that will allow us to be able to reverse engineer how many deals you're able to close. And within your KPIs, you have two. You have your leading indicators, which is short-term action items, and then you have your lagging indicators, what happens after these short-term items. Next, we have, obviously how to track your KPIs. And then the best part of this whole entire training, if you guys leave right now and come back to the recording, I want you to look at this one last part. It is the bottleneck analysis. Once we have our KPIs tracked, once we know what is able to lead to our end result deals, we could reverse engineer where that bottleneck is. What is that one choke point within our process that is allowing us to lose money and allowing us to just not be able to get deals? So let's get into it right here. So what is a sales pipeline? A sales pipeline essentially is just a visual representation of your sales process. And specifically within wholesaling, it is going to be from your new lead all the way up to a closed deal. So right now, we have a very, very, very basic pipeline right here. And for this pipeline, I believe this is specifically for active deals because I'm going to be doing more trainings on this later on both pre-call, post-call, and follow-up pipelines right here. But this is like a science. And I could really nerd out and get super autistic on this stuff. But then I'd be giving you guys way too much information and you wouldn't be able to know what to do with it. So I want to start with really short, actionable items that we can implement today to start closing more deals in a more efficient manner. So for every $100 that we spend into our marketing, instead of getting 2x, we get 5x, 6x, 7x. Okay, so let's say we use a marketing system to get us new leads. New lead comes into your CRM. We have stage one right here, new lead. Okay, these are your motivated sellers, whether it's your PPC, cold calling, all of that good stuff. Next, we have contacted. Okay, for all the new leads that come in, how many were we able to contact? Because if you're actually in the mud, if you're actually calling your leads, if you're actually doing what's required to get the job done, for every 10 leads you call, not every one of them is going to pick up. So if you are not organizing your pipeline into all these different stages, how are you supposed to know who is a new lead? How are you supposed to know who did you talk to? How are you supposed to know where everybody is? And when you think of these different stages, think of it as like a football field. So every time a new lead comes in, they are on the 20-yard line. And new lead could be 20-yard line. Contacted could be 30-yard line, 40-yard line, 50-yard line, 60-yard line, 70-yard line, 80-yard line, 90-yard line, 100-yard line, a closed deal. So the whole entire point of the pipeline is how can we start at the 20-yard line? Because every deal, it starts somewhere. It starts in the beginning. You don't just start closing deals and making money. You start with a lead, someone who wants to sell. They might have motivation of wanting to relocate. They might be in pre-foreclosure, but we always start at the 20-yard line. Okay, cool. We call a lead. And I talked to Mr. Jane on 123 Main Street. Hey, Mr. Jane, how you doing? I saw that you were looking to sell for XYZ reason. You want this, blah, blah, blah. And we go into our sales process. Boom. Now we have them as contact. And this is where a big mistake that most people make is that They think that this is a transactional sales game. No, this is a relationship sales game right here. So, selling someone's house, especially when they are in distress, it is not a one call close. I am in my family home right now. My family has been here for 15 years. God forbid my mom is in pre foreclosure and she really needs to sell. Otherwise, the bank is going to take her home away. What does she need to think of? Where do I move next? Where do I put all of my stuff? I've got 15 years of memories. I need to figure out a job that I can make my mortgage payment. There's a million different things going on right now, which allows them to not sign a contract within the first call. It happens, don't get me wrong. That's called a unicorn lead. But if you could only close unicorn leads, I promise you're not going to be successful in this. The real money is made is being able to follow up with leads for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 months in an efficient manner. And that's the whole point of the pipeline, is to visualize this process, make it more efficient, so that when the right opportunity comes where they are ready to put pen to paper, they're not like, oh my God, I've been talking to Ben like 6 months ago. Like, where is he now? They know that someone like me or someone on my team has been calling them 2 to 3 times a week, every single week for the past 13 months straight, so that when the time is right, they go with me. I have the relationship. I have the rapport. When they are ready to, sell over their asset, that is probably the majority of their net worth, they're ready to go with me. So obviously after contacted, next we have offer made. Somebody that we cannot get into contact with versus someone that we've made an offer on. Who do you think is going to be a higher priority for our team to spend time on? It's going to be the person in the offer made, because by the time that we've made an offer, we know their asking price, we know their timeline, we know their motivation, we know the condition of the property, we've run our comps, we've done our due diligence, we know exactly what needs to happen. So when we have prospects in offer made, we're gonna spend more time there. Next, we have contract sent. Okay, we sent our contract. Next, we have it signed. We have, boom, our dispo process, buyers, walkthrough schedule, accepted, title, funded. So this right here is our 0 to 100 yard line right here. And the lowest hanging fruit that causes people to invest into marketing and not close deals is by not managing this pipeline in an efficient manner. So, what is pipeline management? It is literally just, how can I maximize the amount of leads that I get in through the top of my funnel to the point where we can get them to close deals. So let me know if you guys can see this right here. And I need to command zoom out a little bit. So we're going to be going over how to track our KPIs, because our KPIs are a piece of the puzzle, which is our pipeline. And each KPI is dialed into each part of the pipeline. So if we go to our financial model right here, and I have posed the question of us, we are stuck at 0.89x ROAS. What does ROAS mean for those who don't know? ROAS is return on advertising dollar spend. You will see it with e-com guys. You will see it in wholesaling. It's, I put $1 of marketing into it. How much did I return? So right here, we have a hypothetical. I spent $100,000 a month on marketing last month. We generated 1,041 leads at an average cost per lead of $96. So we have a contact rate of 17%. We have an offer rate of 30%. We have a contract send rate of 65%, a contract signed rate of 40%. So therefore, out of those 1,041 leads right there, we contacted 176. We made 53 offers. We sent 34 and a half contracts. We signed 13.8 contracts. That means we have 13.8 contracts in dispo. We were able to move 65% of them, have an average assignment fee of $10,000. That means we generated $89,724. We spent $100,000 into marketing, and we only got 89 in return. So who here wants to spend money and not get a return? None of us do. We're all in the business of making money. We want to put $1 in. We want to get $5 out, because guess what? If we could put $1 in and get $5 out, we just put more dollars into it, and then we get more dollars out. And that is the game. That's how you grow. But where does pipeline management come into place? It is all about your KPIs and knowing your numbers. That's why we call this financially modeling, because at a high level, business is just math. What do I mean by math? We should know that for X amount of leads that we get into the top of the funnel, it will mean Y amount of contracts. We get Y amount of contracts. We know that we will move 75% of them at an average assignment fee of $10,000. So for every 25 leads that we spend, that cost us, $96 a lead, we'll make 10,000 in return. Our cost per deal is 2,500. We get 10,000 in return. So guess what? It's 4x return on your money. But if you don't count these numbers, if you don't know where the leakage is, how are you supposed to know what you need to fix within your business? Because a lot of people will just spray and pray. How do I know? I am guilty of this. When I was early on in my business journey, I just focused on one thing. How many leads can I get in? How many deals could I close? I wasn't tracking important metrics like contact rate, offer rate, contract send rate, contract sign rate. I didn't track how many leads that I got on a weekly basis. I just wanted to see how many contracts did we have signed and how much money was coming in. So where does bottleneck analysis tie into the sales pipeline? Right here. So you guys are seeing these KPIs right here. This is our funnel from lead contacted all the way to deals closed. And we go here from new lead all the way to a deal closed and funded. So what do we do with bottleneck analysis? Okay, where is there leakage in our pipeline? Okay, I'm spending $100,000. I'm getting 1,041 leads. I'm getting a $96 cost per lead. It's not the best in the world, but it's not too bad. Okay, we have 1,041 leads. We're only talking to 177 of them, and then blah 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 blah. Okay, what is the problem? Let's look at our pipeline again. We go back to our pipeline, new lead contacted. Oh shit. We are getting 1,000 leads right now. We're only talking to 17% of them right there. I am not moving leads from new lead to contacted. There's a gap in my system right here. This is my bottleneck. That if I fix this KPI and all of my other KPIs stay the same, for the same $100,000 that I spent, I am making way more money. Because guess what? Instead of focusing on how do I handle the objection of, oh, Zillow says this better, why don't I just focus on talking more leads first? Okay, let's say, because 17% lead to contact rate, absolutely fucking terrible. Really, really dialed in sales process, you can get up to 45 to 50%. So, how do we get a better lead to contact ratio right here? If you guys are writing this down, write this down. This is a high leverage KPI in our funnel that if we fix, it trickles down to everything. Because watch this. This is the beautiful thing about business. This is the beautiful thing about math is you get to project all of this stuff. Let's say we had really good speed to lead. Every lead that came into our CRM, it was getting called within 30 seconds. Boom, lead comes in, call them up right there. Now, let's say we are calling on our Go High Level CRM and all of our DIDs are flagged as spam. Okay, so we have bad speed to lead and our numbers are flagged as spam. Who would ever pick up a spam call? None of that stuff. But let's say we put that work in. We found our bottleneck was lead to contact ratio and we took it to 34%. Watch this. This is an epiphany that all of you guys are going to have right now. Oh my God. We doubled our lead to contact ratio, and obviously assuming all the KPIs stay the same, which in business does not happen. For the same $100,000 that we spent on marketing, instead of it being 0.89 ROAS, we now have a 1.8 ROAS. Okay, what did we do? We found that bottleneck that really is holding back our funnel right there. That is the leakage that we're talking about, marketing and sales. That's the leaky bucket. We're getting 1,041 leads right now. Imagine if you were getting 1,041 leads. How many deals would you be closing? It should be fucking more than 9. It should be more than 9. Okay, assuming everything stays the same and we keep our lead to contact ratio at 34%. Okay, what do we do next? What is the next problem that we have? We have an offer rate of 30%. We have a contract send rate of 65%. Our contract sign rate is 40%. What is the KPI that if we were able to, double or cut in half, depending on what type of KPI it is, that would allow us to hmm, get better into our process to make more money? So currently, based on this, out of all the offers that we made, we're only sending 65% of the contracts. Why would we not send more? Assuming everything stays the same, let's say we took our offer rate from 30% to 40%, which, look, at the end of the day, this is a numbers game right here. If you guys can't tell, we should be making way more offers because, look, sometimes, making offers on 70% of leads you get in, it is really unrealistic. But you guys also hear the saying that closed mouths don't get fed. This is a problem with a lot of salespeople, is that they go through the sales process so great and then they don't ask for the sale. You call up the seller, she's in distress, she wants to sell, but you're not going to make an offer on her property because not everything's perfect. Stupid. You deserve to stay poor if you don't do that. So let's say we doubled our offer rate and we just started like slinging more offers. 60% right here. Oh my God, our ROAS went from 1.7 to 3.5. But the thing is with business is like, it's not that simple as just you change these numbers and then you get better, return on your investment. Look, let's say we make more offers. And because we make more offers, instead of sending 70%, 65% contracts, we send 80 because we're just signing contracts and we don't care how much our DocuSign bill is. Okay, cool. Now we have a 4.4x ROAS, assuming as everything stays the same. But if we're making more offers, if we are sending more contracts, by the sheer amount of volume that we are going to be doing, we actually will probably sign less of them. So let's say the amount that actually gets signed goes down by 25%. So from 40 to 30. Okay. Well, who here would think that, hey, if my contract signed rate, let's say I sent 10 contracts, 4 out of 10 get signed, who here thinks that if they sent 10 contracts and they only signed 3, that they would actually make less money? Probably a majority of you guys. But guess what? We're so much focused on what is happening into the top of the funnel that by default, we are making more offers. Do you see how that by doubling the amount of offers that we have, or quadrupling the amount of offers that we have made? Well, let me go a step back. I'm ahead of myself. So we doubled the amount of leads that we were contacting to. So instead of contacting 177, we contact 353. And now instead of making 53 offers, we are now making 212 offers. So therefore, instead of sending 34 and a half contracts, we send 170, even though that our contract sign rate went down 25% from 40 to 30. Look at this. Look at this right here. This is math. This is why you need to be tracking your KPIs and managing your pipeline. If you don't know these numbers, you're just flying blind. We signed 13.8 in the control right here. This time we signed 50. So 51 deals in Dispo, 14 deals in Dispo. Now that we have more deals in Dispo, look, our Dispo team's overwhelmed. Instead of them working on 14 deals a month, it's whatever tripled that. Oh my God. They can't give each deal the time and attention that it needs to move it. Let's take our move rate down to 50%. Oh my God. Wow. 15 over 65, that's another 25% decrease or whatever the heck the math comes out to. But who here would think that if my rate to sign contracts went down and the amount of deals that I dispoed went down, who here would think that they make more money? Most of you guys wouldn't think that. But that's what happens when we obsess over our KPIs. That's what happens when we track everything super diligently because Accountability's best friend is visibility. How am I supposed to hold my sales team accountable? How am I supposed to hold myself accountable if I don't know the numbers that I have? So, what I need to do is ruthlessly track all of the numbers that I have. Once I have my current KPIs, I need to go into my system right here and find out where the bottleneck is. Because I can get a lower move rate, I can have a lower contract sign rate and still make more money. You see how we still spent the same $100,000 right here, but we made 2.5x on our money instead of losing money right there. So going back to, you know, what our KPIs are. So I have this master dashboard here that all of you guys are going to be getting access to. And when I have my call in 2 weeks, for the 8 guys that are here right now, I want to be seeing, 928 and 10.5. I want to see these numbers tracked so that we could actually go into your business and find out what your bottlenecks are. So you guys are going to get this sheet that has the, financial model. It also has the KPI tracking. So what do we want to track? We have our, marketing spend. We have the amount of leads coming in, cost per lead, our leads contacted, qualified leads, appointments scheduled if you're doing in-person stuff, appointments completed if you're doing in-person stuff, offers made, contracts sent, lead to contact ratio, contact to qualified rate, qualified to appointment rate, appointment show rate, appointment to offer rate, lead to contract ratio, contract signed, deals in dispo, deals closed, assignment fees collected, contract to close ratio, average assignment fee, cost per contract, cost per close deal, and ROAS right there. Because at the end of the day, what we've noticed, especially within the wholesaling space, is most people don't track their numbers and they will cut profitable marketing channels. We had a good buddy of ours who was using PPC. He would spend 10K per month and he would get 50K per month in return. And you know what he did? He had a legalized money printer where if he spent $1, he would get 5 in return. He cut it. I said, why would you cut it? If most people had a way to put $1 in and get 5 out, why would you ever stop that? Why would you not double, triple, quadruple down? Oh, the amount of leads I was getting wasn't good enough. Are you dumb? You put $1 in, you get $5 out. Why do you care about the amount of leads that you get? Well, more leads equals more deals. Well, that's true. And I started thinking to myself, why do people think like this? The root cause is that they don't track their numbers. If he tracked his numbers and he saw that, he wouldn't care with the amount of leads. He would go focus on other marketing channels and be able to fill the top of the funnel in with more leads at a lower cost per lead. So now going back to our leading and lagging indicators right here. A leading indicator is KPIs in the short term that will tell the story in the long run. Because all of us know that when we get a motivated seller lead coming in, let's say today is September 26th, you are not getting $10,000 back on September 26th. Why? The sales cycle, the deal cycle. There's so many things that go on that delay the time that we spend money on marketing from when we actually realize the return on our advertising dollars spent. But if we only made decisions based on our outputs, we would actually be making a lot of wrong decisions in the short run because we'd be making more decisions based on feelings rather than facts. Because this is something that's a big issue within, especially the younger entrepreneur, generation. For you guys who don't know, I am 25. I get a lot of people who are anywhere between 18 to 24 that come to me and ask for business advice, and they hit the phones for 1 month and they're like, I'm doing the work. I don't have any money. This is bullshit. This is a scam. This is not going to work. But what they don't understand is that we need to be input oriented, because when we are input oriented, AKA our leading KPIs, the outputs, the lagging KPIs will come. Because if I spend all of my time and attention on getting 200 leads a month into my business right now, into my wholesaling business, and I focused all of my time on how could I convert those into contracts in the most efficient manner, and you don't focus on anything else. You don't focus on underwriting. You don't focus on, the next shiny object syndrome, on what's the next marketing channel. If it was like, get me 200 leads and let me focus on how many contracts can I convert, the end result, the deals, the money, the whole reason why we took the leap and got into entrepreneurship in the first place will eventually come. So for our leading indicators, obviously we have more leads, cost per lead, appointment scheduled, because the more that we could see, increases of that into the short run, that's why we track everything on a weekly timeline. We know that based on our KPIs, that the deals will come over a long period of time. So instead of focusing on like, why don't I have any of my deals? Why don't we just focus on two leading indicators? How many more leads can I get in? And then how many contracts can I sign per lead right there? Because the more leads that we come in, the more offers that we make. Like if you normally make 10 offers a week, and then next week you make 40 offers a week, and you do that week over week over week, look, you're not going to see the end results in the deals in the next 1 or 2 weeks, but goddamn, you will see that in the next 2 or 3 months, because it is a funnel at the end of the day. And if we go back to our financial model right here, if I could just focus on increasing our leading indicators, the amount of money I'm spending into marketing, because the more money you spend in marketing, the more leads you get. The more leads you get, the more offers you make. The more offers you make, the more contracts you sign. The more contracts you sign, the more deals that you close. The wires will just start hitting your account. You're just going to wake up, you're going to check your bank account. Oh, there's 30K right there from a lead that came in 3 months ago. Perfect, 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 perfect. That's how we financially model. That's how we track our KPIs. That's how, when we pour water, aka leads, into our, sales system, which is the bucket, that we have the bucket that's not leaky, that doesn't have holes, that will allow us to retain that water and ultimately get to deals at the end. So back to the leading and lagging indicators right here. We then have a key KPIs that will essentially show us the result of our leading and lagging indicators. And I like the look of the financial model better, to be honest. Oh, I didn't even put this here. So going back to this dashboard right here, where, let's see, lead to contract ratio right here. This is the number one KPI that you guys need to ruthlessly obsess over. Ruthlessly, because it is the definition of marketing and sales. How many leads can I get in that will turn into a contract? Let's say that my lead to contract ratio is 50 to 1. So for every 50 leads I get, I make 10K, assuming 100% move rate, 100% dispo rate, which is not true. I want to make 50K. I need 250 leads. Perfect. Makes sense. But we know that 50 to 1 is not a good ratio right there. That's a bottleneck right there, because a really good target lead to contract ratio, and let me be upfront and very clear, this is a blended lead to contract ratio across all marketing channels, because when we go into our more advanced training up in the following weeks, we don't want to just be looking at it from a macro point of view. We want to have every single channel, cold calling, PPL, text blasting, direct mail, whatever marketing channels that you guys do, we want to have that tracked on a really micro level, because a PPC lead is not the same as a cold calling lead. A PPC lead might convert within, let's call it less than 60 days, but you're going to pay $500 per lead and you close 1 in 10, that's a $500 cost per contract right there. Versus cold calling, you might have $40, $50 a lead that close in 3 to 6 months, but you close 1 in every 25 right there too. Whatever 45 times 25 is, I don't know that off the top of my head. You see that, hey, maybe you close 1 lead source faster, but it's not as profitable compared to another. And this is how we layer our different marketing channels right there to not only fill the top of the pipeline with the most amount of leads at the lowest cost per lead, but also at the ones that convert the fastest and make us the most amount of money right there. So, okay, let's say we are bottleneck analyzing and we see that our lead to contract ratio is really bad. Let's go pull up our pipeline stages right here. So our lead to contract ratio, stages 1 through 5. This is no bueno. Okay, now we know this is not a dispo problem. Because I kid you not, some people will say, oh, I only made 40K a month this month. Let me go focus on my dispo. But they didn't track their numbers. They moved 85% of their deals. Why would they go focus on dispo? Dumb. People who don't track their numbers are dumb. So we go track our numbers, stages 1 through 5. Okay, now we see in our micro KPIs. Let's go back to this one right here. Our lead to contract ratio is really bad. And then now we have our micro KPIs tracked, and boom. Let me just copy and paste all of this right here so it could be the same. Hold on. Bear with me right here. Okay, we have everything the same. Now we're back into the bottleneck analysis. Okay, so we go back to our stages 1 through 5 right here. Our lead to contract ratio is not good. It is 1 in 50. I look at my numbers, and back here, we see that it is a contact rate issue. Let's make it 40%. And if you guys want some actionable advice on how to get better lead to contact ratio, I know some people probably joined later. There's 2 things, right, that are going to determine your lead to contract ratio. Number 1 and the most important is speed to lead. If you get a lead into your CRM at 5:49 p.m. and you call it tomorrow at 5:49 p.m., just why? I have a buddy of mine. He does $25 million a month, and he sells leads specifically for insurance. He also does, like business loans, all of that stuff. He spends $500,000 a day on marketing, not a month, not a year, a day. And his data says that if you call within the first 30 seconds of getting a lead, you're going to have an 87% contact rate. You call it after 1 minute, it goes down 50%. You call it after 15 minutes, it goes down 200%. You call it an hour later, you might as well have never called the fucking lead. They'll forget about you because you got to remember all the leads that we are talking to, these are real people that have real lives. I know we're talking about this from a really numbers perspective, and it seems like we are like generalizing like everybody like, hey, this is leads, how many contacts, and it's a little bit dehumanizing. We always need to remember that these are people at the end of the day who have their own lives, who have their own things that make them happy, that make them sad, that are challenging them right now. And when they submit a lead in the middle of their doom scroll, when they get called in the middle of their working day while they're having an argument with their husband or their wife, that 30-second conversation, that 30 seconds where we grasp their attention, they forget about it. They don't care who you are and what you do. As entrepreneurs, we all love our business more than anything, and we think the whole entire world revolves around it. And that's 100% true. This is all of our lives right here. This is what we wake up every single day doing. But that's not what your prospects think. So speed to lead, very, very important right there. We want to be calling sub 1 minute. So if you have a CRM, you're able to track this KPI. So, with the go high level that you guys get through us, you can, build out. Hey, if I have a lead that comes into my CRM at 5:51, I could track how long it takes for, my acquisition manager or for myself to call it right there. And now we have a KPI to track because every single KPI that we see right here on this page, it all has a million sub KPIs because the other KPI or thing that we need to take into account for contact rate is DID reputation. So what is DID reputation? So for those who don't know, DIDs is just another word for phone number. And when you are calling people, the health of your phone number is very important. Why? Who here has gotten a spam likely call? I bet you guys all have. Have you ever picked up a spam likely call? I doubt it. Or even if you have, it is way, way, way lower likelihood compared to a verified phone number. And this is some high level telecom shit right here. Write this down. Stir shaken. STIR/SHAKEN. Stir shaken is a set of procedures put in place by the FCC to combat robocalls and spam calls. And you have three levels of stir shaken. You have attestation level A, B, and C. Attestation at level A is a verified phone number. If you have an iPhone and you go to your call log, you will see some numbers have a check mark. And when you click that contact name, it says calls from this number have a check, or calls the check mark have been verified by the carrier. That's level A. Level B is unknown source, but not spam likely. It has nothing but just normal looking phone number. And level C is spam likely. So, okay, let's say we have really good speed to lead right now. We've tracked it over the past 4 weeks and we're consistently sub 2 minutes. This is not going to be perfect. We want to shoot for under a minute, ideally under 30 seconds, but we also need to be reasonable too. Okay, we have phenomenal speed to lead. We went from 1 hour to 1 minute, but we're still having a bad contact ratio. What else could it be? Number health right here. So in Go High Level, you could verify your numbers directly through them. You do your number verification, it will give you that check mark so that when you call, it will be a check mark, which is going to give you 2 to 3x higher likelihood of them picking up. So boom, 2 action items right there. Speed to lead, and then verify your DIDs for your acquisition managers through your CRM. Because the faster that you call them with a more healthy phone number, the higher contact rate that you are going to get. And that right there, if you only focus on that KPI, it will be everything that you need in order to start getting more efficient return on your marketing dollars spent. So this is how you track your KPIs. This is the importance of financially modeling and visualizing all of your important data so that you could ruthlessly bottleneck where the problem in your sales pipeline is. And going back to the sales pipeline, most people, the lowest hanging fruit is their follow-up. Because when we go back to the unlimited deal funnel right here, we have leads coming in. Guess what? We call the lead. Whether they pick up or they don't answer, oh, that's our contact rate. Weren't we just talking about this KPI right here? The importance of contact rate? Okay, let's say that they don't pick up, no answer. I'm not just going to call them one time and never call them again. I have a great story for you guys on why the lowest hanging fruit that you could fix today is your follow up process, and that is through tracking your sales pipeline better. One of my buddies, door to door guy, wants to take a shot at wholesaling. He has leads. Called a lead day one. The guy's like, hell yeah, I'm ready to sell. Call me back in 2 weeks. Had a really good conversation. He wanted to sell because he was relocating. Boom. It would have been a slam dunk 10K assignment fee, cash offer. Calls him back 2 weeks later. Hey, you remember me? Dude, I remember you. Dude, I couldn't find your number, but I signed with someone else. How many times has that happened to you? Call the lead. Okay, this is a good opportunity we have right here. He told me to follow up with him in 4 weeks. Call him 4 weeks later. Oh, he's sold already. Yeah, that's what happens in this game. It is all about timing. And that's why I'm going to consistently iterate the importance of the pipeline so that we can know who we need to be spending our time on so that when the time is right that we are in front of him. Imagine if he called that lead every single day for those 2 weeks instead of waiting for him to call back in 2 weeks. He would have closed that deal. Why? This game is all about timing. Humans are emotional. They will tell you one thing, they will do another. Everybody experienced things in their life, and if everybody acted very rational and logistical, we'd be in a totally different world. So give me a second. Just drink some water. Okay, so that's what happens if they don't answer. But let's say for the leads that do pick up and they are qualified, we can go into our sales process where we make our offer, you do whatever it takes to get it under contract. But guess what? We get objections. Zillow says this. I don't want to do it anymore. All the objections that we get, and we get thrown into long-term follow-up. But there's a reason why these guys picked up a random cold call and said yes, they want to sell. Something deep down inside of them is gnawing at them. And it's our job in the sales process to find that out because they might not be ready to move right now. Everybody has a life, they have priorities. But when the time is right, we want to be in front of them. That's why really focusing on our follow up. It's so cliche because how many times have you heard gurus say it's all in the follow up? It's all in the follow up. It's all in the follow up. It's true. It really all is in the follow up. But they don't teach you how to follow up. They don't teach you how to fucking do that shit. And I'm here to teach you that. So, how do we follow up? And it sounds like I'm reiterating myself, but these are the fundamentals of business. We don't treat this like a side hustle. We treat this like an enterprise type company. I want full visibility on every single KPI into my fucking business so that I can hold the correct people accountable. Because when you were just doodling and dicking around, you were just drifting in the wind. There's a book called Outwitting the Devil. If you guys are into self-improvements, I would highly recommend that you guys read it. It's by Napoleon Hill, 2 books by him, Think and Grow Rich and Outwitting the Devil. And he talks about this concept of drifting. What is drifting? It's like that Katy Perry song, Fireworks, like plastic bag drifting through the wind. That's what drifting is like we're just a plastic bag, just no meaning, no direction. And most people run their business like that. Most people just go through life drifting. That's the easiest way to have a leaking pipeline. That's the easiest way to spend money on marketing and not get a return. We want to be absolutely dialed in on our numbers, on our KPIs, so that not only we as business owners, as entrepreneurs, because we don't want to be calling on the phones every single day for the rest of our lives. That's what we like to call a high paying job. We want to be CEOs. I hate the term CEO. I think it's super terrible because people like to delude themselves. Oh, I created my logo for my new company. I'm a CEO now. No. What is a CEO actually? Because it is a real position. It is having all of your numbers and then holding every single department accountable to those numbers. Because when it is us building our business, we want to build a business that is able to scale. That's what leverage is. If I could only work 8 hours a day, I could work 8 hours a day. But if I have the systems in place for 20 people to work 8 hours a day, I don't even know what that math is. I'm not good at math. But for that same 8 hours that I worked, we now get 20x the amount of work. And that's how, if you were a one person show, you could only get 25 leads a month and be able to handle it. Now you can get 1,000 leads a month and have the systems to be able to handle it. But once you have these leverage, once you have these systems, you have to hold them accountable. That's why we track our numbers. That's why we know what is our leading indicators, what is our lagging indicators. Because if we see our leading indicators drop off in the front, let's say we normally get 100 leads a week, and then for some reason our cost per lead skyrockets from $50 a lead to $100 a lead. Now instead of getting 100 leads a week, we get 50 leads a week. It's the same leads, they're just more expensive. Nothing happens in the short run because the deals that we've been working in pipeline for the past 30, 60, 90 days, they'll materialize over the next 30, 60, 90 days. But 90 days plus, you're going to be like, why is my pipeline dry? It's because your leading indicators in the short run got worse. You had less leads come into the pipeline. You made less offers, signed less contracts, had less deals in the follow-up. That's why we track our numbers. That's why we track our pipeline. So going back on how do we follow up right there, look, going back to this pipeline, this is a really basic one right here. I wanted to make it simple because if you guys can't tell by now, if you've stayed here for the whole entire time, I like to ramble a lot. We want to Keep it simple, stupid. New lead, contacted lead, offer made, contract sent, contact signed. The biggest drop off that most people see is the contact rate in a lead and then the contract sent right there. Because think about it. New lead comes in, we talk to them. That's the contact right there. Contact to contract sent means that we did something within our, sales process that is worthy of signing a contract. Look, you're not going to go pull a list on PropStream and then start sending contracts to every single one of them. It just wouldn't work. You're going to send contracts to people who are going to sign them. So now how can we go from contacted to contract sent better? You have a whole entire follow-up pipeline that, we could dive deeper into in different trainings where we have 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180 day buckets because at the end of the day, it is a follow-up game and it's our job to slowly move them from bucket to bucket to bucket. I used the analogy of the football field earlier on where look, let's say a lead says they want to sell in 6 months. Cool. That means they want to sell within 180 days. We want to get them within 30 days or less. So we have our 180-day follow up. That could be 3 times a week follow up. Hey, yeah, we talked last week. Just wanted to see you. So looking to sell. You're going to sound repetitive. You're going to sound like you are annoying them, that you're a pest. And that's what good follow up is. You want to annoy these guys. You obviously don't want to be a dick about it. You don't want to be an asshole. Look, sometimes great follow up is calling that guy who's 65 years old, who maybe doesn't have the most amount of people into his life, chatting it up with him for 15, 20 minutes about the football game, about the weather, about his family. Hey, maybe in the short run, it doesn't mean that we're closing the deal tomorrow, but we're building that rapport with him. We are calling him multiple times a week, every single week, and we're slowly trying to move him to like the 90-day window. Let's say he wants to sell in December. I don't even know how many months that is. It's like 4, so 120 days. But we call him and he's like, hey, I'm actually thinking about selling within the next 30. Now he gets moved to that bucket. But if we didn't have a very efficient way to track them within our pipeline, we would have never known. He would have just been a dead lead that we never talked to again. Because now, when the time is right, we did our job. Instead of giving up on our leads after 2 calls, we were on that shit like white on rice. When the time is right, he's choosing us. He's choosing the guy who took time out of their day to talk about the weather, to talk about the family, who asked him questions about his life instead of not making it transactional right there. Because real estate really is a relationship game. You really want great sales skills where you could play offense and get people, into your process and wanting them to take action as fast as possible. But it's also a relationship game. It's also a people game because that's who we're dealing with. We're dealing with people. They have their own lives. They have their own problems. They have their own things that make them happy. And we want to be there for them when they are ready to sell. But really low hanging fruit that holds people back all the time from getting the most amount of advertising dollars back from their money spent is just their pipeline management right there. They get leads in, they don't call them right away. They call them right away. They have one conversation, they don't take notes into their CRM, and then they just forget about that person. And then they say the leads suck. And then they say that wholesaling is a scam. I've seen it happen time and time and time and time and time and time again. But that's just a reflection of their bad sales process right there because it's really easy to get leads. It's really, really, really easy to get leads. It's how efficient can you be with your leads? So, yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. Let me look back at my notes. So, if you're watching this video right now, you're going to get that, call recording. So, I don't think I followed my structure the best. I kind of just jumped around for all of these. But this was an overview that's going to lay the foundation for our future trainings. I want to get all of you guys dialed in with your marketing, with your sales. I want you guys to get 100 leads a month and consistently know how much money you're going to make in 60 to 90 days. Why? That's what it takes to be a good business owner. Wholesaling, it's competitive. There is no way around it. But if you are watching this right now, this will already put you ahead of 98% of the people because this game is filled with Dumbasses. No other way to put it. People who want instant gratification, people who expect, money to just go into their pocket, because that's what the gurus made it seem like. It's not. Look, we work with some of the biggest wholesalers in the country, guys who are doing millions of dollars a month in assignment fees. There's nothing different between what I am telling you guys on this call right now versus what they're doing. It's actually the same shit. They obsess over their KPIs, they obsess over their ratios, and they mathematically project how much money that they are going to make in a long period of time. Because going back to this financial model right here, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Ugh. Let me get some stim real quick. That's better. So when you change the KPIs, if all the KPIs stayed the same, life would be so amazing. It doesn't. They all differ. Every single week, you're going to have different KPIs. You might be doing the right things, but your numbers are going to be different. This is why we track it on a week to week basis, because all we want to do is just see upward trajectory in every single one of our KPIs. Because if we see upward trajectory into our KPIs over the long run, the end result, contract signed, deals closed, money into our bank account, it will get there. So, first and foremost, we need to track our numbers. Second, we need to correlate our numbers to specific parts into our pipeline. Okay, now we have our numbers tracked, we have eyeballs on it. Now we know where our bottleneck is. And you know what we do? We ruthlessly fix the bottleneck. That's why us as business owners get paid. We solve motherfucking problems. But if you don't know what problem to solve, and if you don't know what problem is going to make you the most amount of money, you are just a plastic bag drifting in the wind. So this pretty much wraps up this training right here. You guys are all going to have access to this call. You're going to have access to this scorecard and financial model. And my number one thing for you guys to do is just start tracking your numbers, because once we start tracking your numbers, we could literally just dive into your business and I will just give you guys consulting. I will tell you where your bottleneck is and I will tell you how to fix it. But if you guys just told me that like I'm not making enough money right now, I wouldn't know where to tell you what to fix, because none of this is tracked. Remember, sales and marketing is yin and yang. It's pouring water into a bucket. If you pour all the water in the world, all the leads into a bucket that isn't big enough or has holes, you're not going to hold all the water. Or if you have the best bucket in the world, but you're not pouring any water into it, who cares? We want to figure out how can we pour the most amount of water into the bucket and retain the most amount. Because if we're able to spend more money on marketing and close more deals in a more efficient manner, our ROAS is better. The more money that we put in, the more money that we get out. And that's what scale is. That's how we grow a business. But super excited to keep going on with you guys. So be on the lookout for your guys' Slack channel, because you're going to be getting this scorecard sent to you guys right away. Later.